his fate was sealed by a lot of fans over the last few years, and he's been killed and lost at sea and all sorts. So,
G'day, you cheeky dogs. The Sign has finally aired in the UK on CBeebies, and to celebrate, these are the top 5 theories that have come out of the 28-minute BLUEY episode. So let's get started then with number 5.
G'day, you cheeky dogs. Today we're going to be talking about the BLUEY theory that the father and new partner to Brandy is actually the Busker from BLUEY. Now, this theory has been playing out in my head ever since I watched the episode The Sign. Of course, we saw that Brandy was pregnant. This, of course, is her happy ending, and we learnt in the episode onesies that she had been struggling with fertility and wanting to have a family for a really long time. And I'd already done a theory about how this baby could be an IVF baby, or how Brandy could be part of the LGBTQ plus kind of community. And I want to focus then on something different today, and the fact that maybe she does have a new partner and there is a father in the picture for her baby. Because technically we haven't really gotten any confirmation of anything yet. So let's talk about The Sign and the Busker. Now, first of all, him as a DJ totally makes complete and utter sense. Now, if you didn't know as well, the Busker is of course voiced by Joff Bush, the head of music for BLUEY. It's also designed after him as well, everything from like the glasses and like the color of his fur to match his hair. So of course he was going to be a big part of their biggest episode ever, The Sign. And the Busker in BLUEY has always appeared whenever there's been like a major musical element to the episode. Like in the example for Markets, he's the one playing the music there.
Whoa, $5? Thanks, matey. That deserves another song. Who likes to dance? 2, 3, 4.
And then of course in dance mode, he's playing the music there as well.
Yeah!
So of course we have a wedding, we need a DJ for music. The Busker is the obvious choice. But why was he the officiate for Rad and Frisky? That makes 0 sense. But also, why was there a spare seat at the table between Brandy and Trixie when every other table did not have any extra seats? And this is where my theory comes in to connect all these pieces together. And it makes that 30-minute episode just so much more layered and amazing than it already was. Now, Joe Brum, the creator and writer for BLUEY, did say in a podcast that everyone who was at the wedding was there for a specific reason, or like had a very special backstory as to why they were there. They literally created little backstories for all of them. So that means, of course, that the Busker also has specific reasons for being there. The DJ one, easy. We know why. He's there for DJing. He's the music guy for BLUEY. But as for the officiate, normally if you were in a church, the officiate, of course, would usually just be a priest. If it was a backyard wedding, usually it's like a close family member, or at least a very close personal friend who has gone and gotten their license so that they can like officiate the wedding. Now, I would have thought technically that Chilli would have been like the perfect officiate for it, because of course she is friends with Frisky as well as being the sister-in-law to Rad. And it's because of her that they even met in the first place, with her like, oh, Telly didn't get my text messages kind of situation and double babysitter.
Sorry, Frisky. Uncle Rad got in touch last minute and said he'd babysit. You mustn't have got my message.
Oh, no, I didn't get it.
So that means then that the Busker must mean more to the healers than just being a DJ. So let's look at the wedding reception and the tables. We see a table of the kids, 4 chairs. We see the table with all like the grandparents. 5 of them, 5 chairs. When we look at the parent table with Chilli and Bandit, Stripe, Trixie, and Brandy, there is 5 of them, but there are 6 chairs. The chair next to Brandy is empty when we see them doing like the speeches. There is no reason for there to be a spare chair there. There is nobody else sort of standing up or even walking around or on the sidelines while they're doing the speeches. That chair is there for someone, but it has to be someone who's not sitting down. And who is not sitting down? The DJ. Now, this would also explain as to why Brandy arrived alone at the very intro as well, because of course, if he's there to DJ and officiate, he would have had to have gotten there earlier to make sure everything was set up and running smoothly for the wedding as well. So it makes sense that he would have gone there earlier than Brandy, because she's pregnant. She needs her rest. She needs to like chill out until like there's a big night ahead. Now, of course, he might have already had like his wedding officiate license. So then it would also make sense that the family would be more like accepting of him doing this sort of situation, because he is now also like a part of the family too. He's also a very neutral choice, because it would have been hard for them to have picked like one parent over the other to officiate the wedding. Like we would have all felt like Nana would make the most sense because we've seen her the most in BLUEY, but of course like that's a bit rough for Nana to be doing it for Frisky when like Frisky's parents are both there as well. So again, it makes more sense that it's someone like a little bit more neutral who's still a part of the family that would officiate it. And Chilli, of course, is not able to do it because she is like the maid of honor who's already standing up there anyway. So, cheeky dogs, what do you think then? Let me know in that comment section down below. Do you think that the Busker then is definitely the new partner of Brandy and the father of her little baby? Maybe we might see out in a future episode. I would like to know all of your thoughts and feelings about this theory down below. And same as well if you think that maybe he's not and it is IVF or Brandy is part of the LGBTQ plus community. Let me know everything down there. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, and that bell for notifications so you know whenever I release any other Bluey videos.
Of course. I know where you are, Frisky.
G'day, you cheeky dogs. Today we're going to be talking about the theory of what were Chilli and Frisky doing at Mount Cootha when they were teenagers.
Where are we? This is the lookout. Frisky and I used to come up here as teenagers to, think.
Now, a lot of people all over Facebook and Reddit have been speculating about this and leaving comments about what they think. The most common one, of course, is that, like, what does think rhyme with?
Let's get on it!
But it turns out Joe Brumm, the creator of Bluey, actually just gave an interview with the Gotta Be Done podcast, doing like a whole deep dive into the episode The Sign, and he quite literally said that it is a Simpsons reference.
Such a great line from Chilli in The Sign today, that Mount Cootha was where she and Frisky used to go for thinking. Did that have to go back and forth with the assessors a few times?
No, I got a bit of an easy ride on this. No, that was stolen from The Simpsons, though. I can confirm that.
Now, this reference comes from The Simpsons Season 6, Episode 10. I'll insert the clip of it here.
And now I've got to go somewhere and do some serious thinking.
I'm sure he meant to say serious drinking. That's what I assumed.
And this is just one of like the many Simpsons references that have happened in Bluey before. We've seen it like littered all throughout it, especially with the episode Bike.
I'd like to get down now. I'd like to get down now. Okay, Muppet, on the flamingo queen. I am the lizard queen.
And Joe Brumm even talks about in this interview about how the Simpsons were such like an integral part of like things that he wanted to reference in Bluey because he grew up watching it all the time because that's all he had to watch for a bit.
Hey, why have I got stink lines coming off me?
The fairies must think you stink.
What?
It's you.
Oh, jeez, and you got the stink lines and everything?
And they on Fox 8, they used to have Super Sunday Simpsons where they would just play Simpsons all day. So, you know, we would all be hungover and you'd just lie for 5 hours on a Sunday morning just watching back-to-back Simpsons for like the 2 years I lived at home. So it's hard I can't describe how many times I've seen the first 6 or 7 seasons of The Simpsons. So I'm sure it worked its way in so that 20 years later, when at 5 a.m, when I had to come up with a game, Magic Xylophone just came out.
I mean, what are we, to believe that this is some sort of magic xylophone or something? Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
I'd like that one, please.
$400 dues.
Thank you.
Enjoy your statue.
$900 dues? Tobias!
Right.
Mine.
Hey, Bingo, I'm hungry.
Don't!
But I want to know from you cheeky dogs, what did you think that Chilli and Frisky were up to? Let me know in that comment section down below.
Yeah, you're right here.
What? Ah.
G'day cheeky dogs, today we're going to be talking about Grandpa Bob and his triumphant return to Bluey in the new Bluey episode The Sign. Now I'm going to be talking about all the clues that the Bluey animators left all throughout season 3 to let us know where he has been this entire time, as well as also the change in his voice actor as well.
Right, so you want me to say your name so you can talk again? Well, you're dreaming, mate.
Now, of course, in this episode, The Sign, we find out that Bob has been in India this entire time.
What were you doing in India for so long, Bobber?
Well, girls,
He was off trying to find himself.
And we have 6 episodes in general that gave us the clues towards this, but also the episode Bedroom at the very start of season 3 when Bingo says this line.
Good night, Grandpa Bob, wherever you are.
And then, of course, in the wedding scene, it's Bingo being the one who asks him where he has been. So I thought that was just like a nice little like connection there. Now, housework was actually the very first time that we got a hint as to where Grandpa Bob was. And it was in this episode that we see a postcard of a temple, and it looks a lot like the Akshardham temple in Delhi. And this postcard was also in the exact same location in the episode Whale Watching, as well as in the episode Musical Statues.
What do you want?
Put on this tutu and do a little dance for us, please.
What? No way.
It did have a change locations in the episode Tina, where it was actually up on the calendar next to another postcard that was the elephant postcard. Again, another little hint at India. Now, it was in the episodes Driving and Ghost Basket that we got some more clues that were on the actual fridge.
Let's play driving.
For real life?
For real life.
Hooray! Here comes the granny!
Okay.
And one of these, of course, was the postcard of the Taj Mahal that we saw in it, and then also an elephant magnet that matches up with the souvenirs from India. And then the final episode is the episode Stickbird.
Who taught you kids how to throw?
No one.
You want to handle this?
Where Chilli can be seen reading a book that is quite obviously Eat, Pray, Love. The pray part, though, of course, had to be like a little poor print because of like the religious restrictions of the ABC Australia. But of course, the book Eat, Pray, Love is all about finding yourself, and a big portion of it happens in India. So I do wonder if perhaps like Grandpa Bob had recommended this book to Chilli because, of course, in the previous episode Relax, she was very unhappy, and so maybe he recommended this to her to help her find her happiness and find herself.
Okay, time to relax.
Off.
But then it also brings the question of how long was Grandpa Bob in India?
Turns out we do know for a while how long he was there, and it was at least over 2 Christmases because Joe Brumman gave an amazing interview on the Gotta Be Done podcast, and he said this about Grandpa Bob.
His fate was sealed by a lot of fans over the last few years, and he's been killed and lost at sea and all sorts. So he fell out for different reasons. I think because Mort sort of took his role. But that was, to me, that because when I went to India, I used to meet a lot of dudes his age who were off, their kids had left home and, they were married and all that, but they just went off to India to, go on a bit of a search. So I thought, you know what, that's a good reason to miss multiple Christmases. And yeah, a lot of fisherman pants involved.
Which then brings us into the voice actor, and the original voice actor for Grandpa Bob was Ian McFadden, and we heard him all the way back in season 1 in the episode Grannies, which is also when we first heard his name was Bob, but his nickname was Bobba.
Bob, can you work this thing out?
That's not it.
Oh, this is hard.
You gotta give it some of these.
No, Bob, that's not it.
But that was not his voice in this episode, The Sign. Instead, he was voiced by Sam Simmons, who was actually the voice of younger Grandpa Bob in the episode Fairy Tale.
Hi, I've got it. I'm doing it. What?
Oh, Bob.
You know what I call this? I call it a good start. How do I jinx it so none of you can talk?
Find yourself? That's silly. Why do you need to find yourself? Yeah, you're right here.
What? Ah.
So I do wonder why Ian didn't come back for it. There hasn't been like any official statement or anything like that. So perhaps he just wasn't able to, or something happened. But cheeky dogs, let me know in that comment section down below. What did you think of this revelation that Bob was in India? I know a lot of us thought that maybe he had like passed away, or that he was going to be in an old person's home with dementia. But I do think this was like, I know, like again, a funny little gag at us as audiences to explain where he's been this whole time. Now, this has all come, of course, from the new Bluey episode, The Sign, and Reddit and Facebook are filled with people posting about this, saying, are they getting a divorce? Why are they arguing all this time? What's happening? Making jokes about this episode of Bluey is called 2 Christmases, this episode of Bluey is called 2 Birthdays. So I want to talk about why people think this, and what actually happened in the episode, and then kind of also as well what Joe Brum has said about this and what we might see in the future.
I can handle it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I got it covered.
And I feel like before we talk about the sign, we just gotta take it back like one little step to the episode Facey Talk, because that's the first time that we really saw Trixie and Uncle Stripe actually fighting.
Just let me handle it, Stripe.
No, Trix, let me handle it. I get to parent too.
Yeah, but you have to do it right.
This is how I do it.
But we should really make it clear that like this episode was really to show how they're different from Bandit and Chilli, and how not only are their kids different ages, but yeah, people parent differently. Some people argue, some people don't. Some people have different ideas of parenting styles. And at the end of the day, as long as you can communicate that, that's what matters. And I feel like that was sort of like the main message of Facey Talk. So then let's go through the episode The Sign and the 7 kind of scenes that we saw with Stripe and Trixie, and what led to this whole idea of people thinking that they're going to get a divorce.
Well, you won't be here much longer either, Frisk.
What? Yeah, what?
You're moving out west with Rad after the wedding, aren't you?
No? Who told you that?
Not Rad.
And the very first scene kind of sets up their dynamic for the rest of this episode, and that's when they're in the backyard and Stripe, of course, spills the beans about Frisky maybe moving out west. And it's quite funny because you can see that Stripe does not like awkward confrontations, and it is really funny the joke he makes about Trixie calling him, but obviously she's not.
Why would he tell you that?
Oh, well, I think Trix is calling me.
No, I'm not.
And then this very much leads into that second scene of them fighting on the veranda. And unlike in the episode Facey Talk, they don't resolve it during this fight. They just both walk off angry. And if you really listen carefully in the background, you can actually hear what they're saying.
You know what to
I
do.
believe you, Stripe.
Radley, call me now.
Things like that.
And breathe. He's making all these plans without me.
There'll be a reason. Just stay calm and keep setting up for the wedding.
Okay. Do you mind if I take the for sale sign down for the wedding?
But this isn't over.
And we don't really see them together again until the third scene, which is the bouquet throwing scene. And this is the part when I realized that Stripe is Muffin. Muffin is very much just like what Stripe is, but as a 3-year-old. And this was like the perfect scene of that, where he like just runs in and grabs the bouquet. And you can see that Trixie isn't mad. She just does like the like smack my head face. So she can see she's just kind of like disappointed. But I think this is meant to set up that Stripe is the goofball of the family. Like he does these funny things. He's that funny uncle. And this just set it up perfectly. Now, the next scene where we see them together is back inside the tent. They've just sort of all finished like the speeches and everything like that. And then Stripe yells out, "Let's get on it."
Let's get on it!
And if you zoom in on Trixie during this, she's not angry about it. She like laughs about it, then her hands are up in the air cheering. So this is kind of like where it gets a bit awkward between this scene and the next scene. Because the next scene is when we see them arguing again just outside the tent, but kind of sadly, we see Socks at the front, like mimicking them arguing with the like toppers from the wedding cake. And that's where it kind of gets maybe a little bit sad, because if Socks is sort of mimicking them arguing, it kind of shows that like this happens quite a lot, enough for her to sort of know to like replicate this kind of idea. And I did see some people online saying, well, you know, everyone's been drinking, so alcohol like increases emotions, but they weren't drinking all the way back at the start when they were like having that argument on the veranda. So I very much really just think that the creators just wanted to show different types of couples and different types of parenting situations.
It was a squabble.
Maybe, but we still love each other.
People shouldn't squabble.
You're probably right. It's good to get to the bottom of things, though.
Because, of course, Bandit and Chilli are very much like the idealized, perfect sort of situation of like, yeah, they might squabble, but they make up really well and they're fantastic parents all of the time. Whereas Trixie and Stripe are very much kind of seen as like the opposite of that, of like maybe what's more realistic.
Am I special?
Muffy, you're the most special kid in the whole world.
Like, they spoil their children like Muffin, but then they also maybe have some questionable, like, choices, like making Muffin wear a cone of shame.
Trix, are you sure about this? Well, she needs to break the habit.
I guess. They obviously have a very intense relationship, but they're also still learning as well. They're in a bit of a rough patch at the moment with like Socks being 1 and Muffin being 3, or them even moving up to 2 and 4, which as someone who is literally going through that age phase right now with my kids, it is a tough time.
You don't have to, Aunt Chilli. I'm special.
Okay.
Hey, Chilli dog.
Stripe.
Bit muddy out there.
And it's not like the show has never shown couples arguing before. Like, obviously we had that in the Floor is Lava postman scene with Bandit and Chilli arguing. But of course, their argument was more of just like a squabble, not a real actual, like, I'm angry at you argument.
Bin bags are a pain.
You're a pain.
Oh, great.
Stop squabbling. I don't like it.
We're not squabbling, kiddo. We're just talking.
Sorry, Bluey. It's okay. Look, let's talk about this later.
Can't wait.
But I think they really wanted to show that, yeah, couples can argue and fight in different types of ways, but they can also still make up in different types of ways as well.
Listen to your father.
Let's split up.
Good idea.
They're working together.
And that's one of the reasons why I don't think that we're going to get like a future episode of them like at a family counseling kind of situation, because I think it's just them trying to show a different dynamic in the couple. So I want to go back to that scene with Socks and them arguing in the background, and what might they actually be arguing about? Because like I said in that previous scene, Trixie was really happy when Stripe said, let's get on it, which of course means to like anyone who is Australian, let's start drinking or let's get more drunk, let's start partying. And we know that Trix does like to drink and have a party.
And the ladies watch us get all sweaty. Right, ladies?
You got it, Lucky's dad. Yay!
We saw that in the episode Stumpfest, and we also saw that she's also really good friends with Frisky. We saw them together in the Decider. She's part of the bridal party here as well. So I'm thinking that maybe that argument that they're having is about who gets to actually party and who's meant to be taking care of the kids and taking them home at the end of the night. Because with Sock saying like, yes you did, no you didn't, yes you did. I feel like that maybe is her just like replicating what they're arguing in the background there, being like, yeah, you promised that you were going to take the kids home. No, I didn't. You did. Yes, I did. You did. Like, I feel like that's probably what was happening, because in the very next scene that we see them together, just like in Facey Talk where they hugged and made up, in this episode, they are dancing together on the dance floor and they look like they're having a good time. It does also look like Uncle Stripe does sort of like win that argument, and he's the one that gets to like party and let loose because his bow tie is kind of wonky. And of course, the very next day, we see him crawling out of Wendy's bushes.
What day is it?
Which means that Trixie most likely was the one who had to take the kids home, and obviously she didn't care about him staying at his brother's house because she knew he'd be safe. And so I want to bring this in then to Joe Brumm, the creator and writer of Bluey, and he did a deep dive on the Gotta Be Done podcast, which was like an hour long talking about the sign, and something he just kept reiterating was the fact that he really wants to be able to write happy endings for the stories. And Uncle Stripe and Trixie getting a divorce is not a happy ending. So I very much doubt that that's what we're going to see happen, especially when he bases like the family off his own core family. Like his younger brother is the voice of Uncle Stripe. And Joe Brumm has also already explored like the analogy of divorce in the episode The Decider, and of course we've already seen some divorces happening in Bluey with Winton's parents, but again they get their happy ending because his dad does get together with the terrier's mum. But then there's also sort of the theory as well that Wendy is divorced and Judo is a child of divorce, and that was the issue going on with butterflies. That still is yet to be confirmed, but we did get like a very short scene of them obviously in this, and again all of their hair grew back. Like, how long was, like, the time period from the dirt to this episode? But either way, I very much doubt that based off what Joe Brumm has said in that interview and his thoughts about happy endings for all the episodes and the couples in it, I don't think that they're going to have a divorce anytime soon. But, cheeky dogs, let me know in that comment section down below what you think of this theory, and if you thought that maybe they were going to get divorced. If you don't think that they are, I want to know all your thoughts and feelings down below.
Everyone? Everyone?
Hey, can it?
Thanks, Mort.
G'day you cheeky dogs. Today we're going to be answering some big Bluey questions like why was Maynard at Rad and Frisky's wedding in the episode The Sign, and why does Bluey go to a school that is an hour away from her house? So yes, these questions are actually connected, and I'm really excited to explain to you guys how that is, as well as some of like the backstory behind Chilli and Frisky's friendship. And even Joe Brumm himself, the creator of Bluey, did say that every character that was at the wedding for Rad and Frisky has an actual backstory as to why they're there. So I'm really excited to go into that with you guys. So let's start off with why Maynard was at the wedding, because he wasn't there for like Rad's side of the family. He doesn't really have anything to do with Rad or with Bandit's family whatsoever. He's associated, of course, with Chilli's family.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi, Maynard.
Hey, kids.
And we also know that Maynard doesn't seem to be related in any way to Frisky as well, because he's also not sitting on like Frisky's family's side of like the wedding party. And I think the answer to all of this comes actually from the Mount Cootha clip.
This is the lookout. Frisky and I used to come up here as teenagers to, think.
Now, this clip here answers why Mort and Brandy were at the wedding, because obviously Chilli and Frisky have been friends for decades and they're good friends, so of course she probably became good friends with Brandy as well, and in hindsight then as well probably Chilli's dad Mort. Now of course we know that Maynard lives next door to Mort because we saw that in the episode Grandad, because he was there with like his little fishing house. We can assume that Mort's home is Chilli's childhood home as well, because it kind of seems set up that way.
Will Mum find us here?
Yeah, she'll be here soon, I reckon. This was her favourite place when she was young.
Based on the things that like Grandad says about how, you know, Chilli used to be there when she was a child, and the fact that we see like Chilli's name as well, like scribbled into one of the trees there. So perhaps Frisky came over to Chilli's property a lot when she was a child or a teenager, and that's how they, you know, became good friends with Chilli's family, and then as a connection with their next door neighbor Maynard as well. But that seems like maybe a little bit of a stretch to me, and what I think might be slightly more plausible is the fact that Frisky also lived out in that area as well, perhaps on a property, again, maybe like next to or just down the road from Chilli and Maynard. And I feel like this kind of ties in with like what Frisky's dad looks like, because he does not look like a city fella whatsoever. He gives off very like hippie vibes, or like someone who wants to be out in the wild, because he's got like those pheasant feathers in his hair. So I feel like this could, yeah, probably work together.
Well, it's a bit of a bush road, and you look like a bit of a... Go on. A city fella?
So then how does this tie in then with Bluey's school and why it's an hour drive away from their home in that sort of Paddington, Red Hill area of Brisbane? So we find out some information about this from the season 3 episode Explorers, where we learn that Bluey's school is in the Glasshouse Mountains, which is why we know why it's so far away from where she lives.
It's the Glasshouse Primary School.
Oh, you're a long way from that.
Oh, man.
But this episode is also when we see Maynard for the second time. So the first time was in Grandad, the second time was in Explorers, where he was working at a service station that Jack's dad pulled into. And it's obvious that Maynard knows this area very well. Not only can he write an easy map for them to get to Bluey's school, but he also knows like the secret back way and shortcuts as well. So we can assume that Maynard knows this area well, not only because he works in it, but because he lives near it as well. And that means then if Maynard lives near it, then Chilli's dad lives near it, which means Chilli grew up around this area. Which then I think links into the fact that maybe Chilli went to Bluey's school when she was a child as well. And that's why Bluey goes to this school that's so far away from her city home, because Chilli knew how amazing the school was. The amount of land that this school has as well is ridiculous. Maybe that's something that she wanted Bluey to experience as a child, and not being in like a little school inside the city, but instead having this amazing school with all this space and room for activities. And something I really like is like the fact that maybe Frisky also went to this school as well. So perhaps like Chilli and Frisky's friendship also is like mimicked again in Bingo and Leela's friendship and how they grew up together, and like how Chilli and Frisky grew up together, and Frisky ended up becoming the godmother, of course, to Bluey. So I don't know, I feel like this all like wraps up really well, especially the fact that like Bingo is a red healer, just like Chilli is a red healer. So I could see how their stories might mimic each other with this. But cheeky dogs, let me know in that comment section down below, what do you think of this theory that that's why Maynard was at the wedding and why Bluey goes to a school that's so far away from her home? I do also have another question, and that is, why is Rocco and why is Snicker's mum at the wedding? Because like I said, Joe Brum did say this about the background characters being at the wedding.
A bit of thought went into that, who should be at that wedding, because it would have been good to have like Lucky's dad there and stuff, but I couldn't justify why Lucky's dad would be at Frisky's wedding, right? But,
Yeah.
So very brief kind of backstories had to be told. Like Mort must have grown up with Frisky. You know, Frisky's probably always been around as a kid. And
so what's the backstory then for Snickers, Mum and Rocco? I want to know all of your theories as well in that comment section down below too. And like I said, while you're there, don't forget to hit all the little buttons like the likes and subscribes and the bells and all that if you would like to. But until my next video, cheeky dogs, I have picked you out a few other ones that maybe you would like to watch, and I'll see you all in another video. Mwah! Bye!